I never dreamt of being a restaurateur or working in a restaurant or owning a restaurant or anything related to hospitality. It wasn't part of my dream.
Arian Zandi, he's the co-founder of Emerald Hospitality Group, 28 years old, has over 200 employees, and is of course a Forbes 30 under 30 lister. Emerald Hospitality Group was also listed as a top 100 Sunday Times company with biggest growth in 2024.
You started that company with me, right? I'm not only your brother, I'm your twin brother. To put it very simply, it's a group of restaurants that we have both founded and created. It's a timeless industry that it would always be there, and there's definitely ways in which the industry is evolving, and for us, it's providing that experience and not only the food. 60% of the restaurants fail within the first year. You have defeated this multiple times. What have you learned in terms of leadership? What do you think is your recipe or your secret to success? For me, success Arian, you went to a great university and landed a very well-paying job too. So why did you decide to become an entrepreneur? For me personally, I've always wanted to become an entrepreneur. So it was never in my plans to start a corporate job or a corporate career and then stick to it. But at the same time, I needed to start somewhere to learn the ropes of what a business is, and then feel confident to be able to work by myself. So my first job that I landed, and we landed it together, it was in management consulting. It was very useful for us, definitely very useful, because it gave us all the insights of how an internal company works, without being too much focused on a specific industry. And that gave us all, let's say, the confidence and the business knowledge to be able to then move to a more passionate project, which is being an entrepreneur, but also with the skills and the structure that corporate and in particular consulting gave us. You built your company at the age of 22, very young. But obviously you started that company with me, right? I'm not only your brother, I'm your twin brother. So the emotional support that he had from me, and obviously this is vice versa too, was very, very strong. Do you think you would have started, or you would have had the courage, because it takes a lot of courage to start a business, do you think you would have had that courage to start it so early on in life if I wasn't in the picture? I think that's a very good question. I don't have 100% the answer, to be very honest, because it's very hard for me to imagine to do any of the things that I have done without you. For the two reasons. First, we're twins, we were born together and we had very similar upbringings, and doing things in general without you, it's strange for me. And also all the things that we have overcome together throughout the business, the businesses that we have founded, I can remember that every single setback that I had or you had, we were there for each other. So perhaps I would have not been as, let's say, encouraged or brave to do it by myself at first. But for sure, I've always known that I wanted to do it. So there was no stopper or block towards that. But you were a big part of it, and I wouldn't change any of that. This episode is obviously extra emotional, right, to me. In my case, I don't think I would have started that early, because I had that emotional support from someone that A, knew me very, very well, and then B, shared that same vision. And no one, especially at that age when we're both, our lives were very similar still back then, our ideologies in life, our goals, our targets were very much aligned. So if you put these two combinations together, being with someone that is very similar to you, and at the same time, that same person represents this incredible level of support, for me was almost not a no-brainer, but it made things much, much, much easier to say, yes, likewise, I quit my job and let's do this together. Your company, Emerald Hospitality Group. What is it? Elevator pitch, right? Yeah. To put it very simply, it's a group of restaurants that we have both founded and created. Currently, we have 4 restaurants. All are different cuisines, but they all deliver experiences. So they have things that are very different, but one thing that is common, which is the idea or the concept that they deliver an experience. We have one that is Latin American. We have another one that is Italian. We have a Spanish one, which is where we are at the moment. And the last one that we have opened, which is South French. So on a nutshell, that's what we do. We have created it in order to deliver something else beyond just eating well for our clients. And then also with the hope and the target to take all of those brands internationally to a broader audience. Let's deep dive into what makes your company different. There are so many restaurants in the world. What made you think the world needs one more or multiple more? So why did you enter this industry? The world doesn't need another restaurant or as good as ours. I just, it's very, so please, for anyone out there wanting to open a restaurant, don't. In fact, there's too many of us. I don't think, I mean, it's a very old industry, hospitality. I don't think it's a need, and we have a cracked, I don't know, the code, the Da Vinci Code, or I don't know, how to go to Mars. I don't think it's that kind of industry. Fortunately and unfortunately. But I do think that it's a very rewarding industry that has always been there, that has not been, let's say, majorly disrupted by technology. So restaurants like ours, that they do deliver experiences and they unite people throughout the technology development eras, like Deliveroo or Uber Eats and so on, has not been disrupted, has not eaten at all any of the market share of going out. COVID, for instance, has also not disrupted the idea of going out with friends. In fact, has enhanced it more. So I always had that in mind. The fact that it's a timeless industry, that it would always be there, and there's definitely ways in which the industry is evolving. And for us, it's providing that experience and not only the food. And I think that if we provide that experience better than other restaurants, then clients will stay with us. But ultimately, once you provide that experience and that added value to your clients, the most important thing for them to become loyal is consistency. A lot of people, when they're looking to start a business, they think if what they're going to venture themselves into is either something that you always wanted to do, and since you're a kid, that was your dream, or this is an opportunity that just happened in your life and you just took the opportunity. In your case, did you always wanted to be in the hospitality space, or was something that at some point in your life you thought, well, this is a good next step? Yes. So no. I never dreamt of being a restaurateur or working in a restaurant or owning a restaurant or anything related to hospitality. It wasn't part of my dream. But equally, I never had a dream of being in one specific industry. It's not that I said I wanted to be a doctor or an astronaut or a chef, or no. My dream was to be an entrepreneur. And for me, being an entrepreneur, it's pulling together people to create something that adds value to an end customer, whatever that is. And that enjoys me, and that brings me a lot of joy, that creates my passion, and it's a big part of why I wake up every single morning, to create that and do it better every day. Let's deep dive a little bit more into the hospitality industry. 60% of the restaurants fail within the first year. So it almost seems like before you start the business, you're set for failure. In your case, you have defeated this multiple times. What do you think is your recipe or your secret to success? Well, I didn't know those stats, but I knew it was a very high number of closures within the first year. For me, and for us, I think what enabled us to stay open on the first year and beyond, and being, as we are, cash flow positive from the first day, EBITDA positive from the first month as well. It's the ability and the capabilities that we have as entrepreneurs. So we don't get too focused on one area of the business. So we don't get too focused on just the food, and we deliver the best, menu. We don't get too focused on on the design. We don't get so we don't have that tunnel vision on one item of the business. We are entrepreneurs and we look at it holistically, and we're very much data driven in this case. So before venturing into this business, we have done a lot of research of who is our customer, what is a customer that moves around that area, because at the end of the day, it's retail, so you're physically based somewhere. So understanding who's going to be your customer in that area and creating that offer for them. I'm going to add to that, and I'll take the liberty of doing this in this episode because obviously you're not only my twin brother, but we've co-founded this company together. I think personally, I attribute the success so far that we have experienced in our business, well, surely because of you, apart from that, is because we didn't enter into the market thinking that, you know what, I cook an amazing pizza or lasagna and I'm going to try myself in the market, right? I'm just going to open this business. But we onboarded a lot of different corporate standards. We implemented processes, we're incredibly data driven, and remove the emotion completely outside of the equation in an industry that by definition is very unstructured, right? So most of the competitors are very unstructured compared to us in this regard, that the level of perhaps of, not, I wouldn't say bureaucracy, but the level of sophistication that our operations have, I think is at a different level, not necessarily comparable to the hospitality industry. So I think that was a good competitive advantage. We've been doing this for now 7 years. We started obviously with a very small team, and right now the team has increased to over 200 employees. I'm very interested to know, what have you learned in terms of leadership over the last years? What I have learned is that you need to work with the resources that you have. And when it's a startup, when you're starting a business, those resources are not unlimited with the resources that you have. So you need to make sure that your team and other resources that you can employ are well utilized and are efficient in order to deliver that, and not get too distracted with activities or items that are not going to deliver results. That's one thing that I've learned. And secondly, again, as a startup or starting up a business, it's cash flow. So you need to have very clear KPIs, but those always at the beginning need to be very tight on cash flow. So understanding that your business will have different moments of cash needs and being able to prepare for those is extremely important to stay afloat, because when you're starting a business, you have highs or peaks on demand, especially in hospitality, then lows, and they're really unpredictable sometimes costs. So having a view on that cash flow will ensure you that you're going to stay on business. There is no point of having a great idea and great sales if then you're not able to sustain that for a number of years, even if it's within your business plan. So that, I would say, was also a big lesson learned for us. In terms of leadership, I have seen you grow a lot in the last years. I came into the business with let's also start from the fact that we initiated this business at the age of 22. So we're very young now, but we were very, very young when we started. And I came into this business with an idea of a preconceived idea of what the leader should be. It was a mix of different movie characters, different TV show characters that I've admired, and maybe some political leaders. So basically, I put together this collage of a profile of a leader, and I tried every day to be that. And it became apparent to me, in fact, very quickly, that was not going to be applicable. It was not going to be effective, because I was feeling very weird. I was reacting in ways that I had no control. Basically, I wasn't myself. So my main lesson learned in the last years in building up the business, the company, was that you need to make mistakes, your own mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and shape a leadership style that resonates only to you. Because I don't think there's a leader that fits every size, that fits every box. I think there's a leader that fits your personality, your environment, your company values. And that's my biggest lesson learned, to personalize my skills. Going back to what I've seen from you, I've seen that 100%. What is your vision for Emerald Hospitality Group? Our vision was always the same, to take all the brands international. At the moment, we're very excited because we have just signed an agreement with a very important family office. And that agreement will first take us to open 2 new restaurants. One of them, it's an extension, or it's the second site of an existing brand of our Italian concept, Como Garden. And then another one in the rooftop of a very important building in central London. And that will be a completely new brand. This partnership for us, it means a lot, mainly because they have this fund has the capabilities of taking our brands or new brands that we create with them to some of the best spots in the world. And that's something that we have always dreamed of and worked really hard for. Okay, so what happens if you don't achieve that? So you don't bring your brands internationally, so your dreams are crushed. How do you pivot that? How do you keep yourself happy, motivated? What's the plan B? I mean, there's a lot of other dimensions of my life that keep me happy and motivated, not only that one. But the plan B is to continue expanding in London. London is a huge city. I mean, I think within London you can feed 3 other cities that are also big and, let's say, cosmopolitan in the world. So the plan B would be to continue expanding here and perhaps to other markets that I know more. But I'm very confident on the plan that we have. I'm very confident on the team that we have to deliver that plan. I'm confident on our brand. I'm confident on our new partner to make sure that this plan maybe doesn't go exactly the way that we wanted, but it's still going to be delivered and successful. Before starting a business, one does a lot of research. Any business. And once you start researching about the possibilities of opening up that particular company, you start seeing things like, there perhaps are a lot of competitors. Maybe I require more capital than what I have. You identify these complexities from an analysis. And then you can get a paralysis. So I call this paralysis by analysis. In your case, this is even more aggravated because in the hospitality industry, the moment that you type anything in Google or you ask any family member, any friend, they're going to tell you, don't enter this industry. You're going to be a slave to it and you're going to lose a lot of money. So how did you overcome this paralysis, right? Before entering into the business, it's true that you get a lot of advice from people that they think they know about the business. So that was something that I've always known. But secondly, particular to our industry, it is true that it is very difficult, and it is true that it is very demanding. And the way that I overcame that paralysis and I decided to enter and also continue through it was to divide all the workload and all the complexities of the business in different building blocks from the very beginning. Instead of just looking at it like one whole thing of how to open this restaurant, like how am I going to get my head around it, I divided all the things that I knew that would make in order to open a restaurant. So on one side, it's going to be this set of activity, then this other set of activity. So divided it, and like a consultant, put it in a chronological order in order to be able to open it and project manage it on the best of my ability. And that helped me to overcome that, let's say, analysis paralysis. Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically you're taking on a big problem and you're simplifying it. Mm-hmm. Is that the key to, in this case, also to confidence, right? Because right now you're sitting in front of me, you're very confident from everything that you're saying. It's a mixture of what you have learned in the last years, but perhaps this is also the technique, right? Simplifying everything that you've been through, right? Every problem, break it down and go one by one. Correct. The synergies in between co-founders are very important. And right now, this is something that I'm trying to identify across almost every guest that I'm bringing to the show. Because if you have a good relationship, professional relationship with a co-founder, that can set you up for success. But if you don't, obviously it can also set you up for failure. In this case, I am your co-founder. So I would like to understand what is your view in our relationship and how important do you think having a partner and your relationship with that partner it is to the success of the business. Very, very important. your co-founder is going to be with you from day one and is going to share a lot of things with you, good things and not pleasant things. So it's going to share with you all the successes, all the good moments, all the achievements with you. When you sign a new investor, when you get bigger demand, when you turn a profit, that person is going to be there with you. No, and by definition, and it's very beautiful to share that good moment because you will have that sense of achieving it together. But also, your co-founder will be there when you're having other types of feelings on a business, when the business is not going that well, when the business is struggling, when it's starting up, when you're not finding a solution. So having a good relationship with that person, it's extremely healthy and needed for both as co-founders, but also for the business, because the interaction and the relationship that you have with your co-founder will always be reflected on the business, especially when you're starting up, because you don't have a huge team, and that team will always feed off of the sentiment and the relationship and the energy that the co-founders bring to the table. And if the co-founders don't have a good relationship, that will immediately be seen. I would also say that it's very important to have the right expectations with your co-founder. So sometimes you do think that sometimes you're very aware of what you're doing, and you believe that you have a lot carrying on your shoulders and you're delivering a big amount of the workload or of the results. But that's just a reflection of how much work there is on the business and you're doing. But you sometimes lose the ability to see how much work the other co-founder is actually doing, because you're so focused on your side. You know, you're doing a million things at one time, different roles, different tasks, being only one person. And you sometimes forget that your co-founder is doing the same thing on the other side. So one thing that it's an advice, or my lesson learned, would be what you get from your co-founder, it's what it is. That's the best, and you should work with that instead of asking or trying to get more from your co-founder. And I think that's a very healthy way of looking at it, and also a way that you can work together collaboratively instead of as a team, instead of pitting each other up. And that's extremely important and extremely valuable. Don't expect more than what you're getting, because you should trust that the other person is doing its maximum and is probably already juggling through a lot of things that you can't see. And you can't see everything.
I agree with you. I think expectations are something that can impact a lot the relationship. I don't think that is only the case for co-founders, but general for relationships. But I also think that communication is very important, and that transparency needs to be there. We need to be very honest with each other. How honest do you think we are with each other?
I think we are as honest as one can be with someone outside of yourself.
Can you put it in a different way?
There is nothing that I'm keeping from you that I don't think you need to know. Like whatever I'm not telling you is just something that I'm keeping for myself, that is just my inner thoughts, and I want to think about them more clearly, settle them down, and then share them with you. But everything that I'm sharing with you is full transparency, and I like to think that also well thought.
What's the hardest moment?
As a twin brother and co-founder, you're not only my co-founder.
Yeah.
So, and I cannot play both roles separately. You're my co-founder and twin brother when we're in business. You're my twin brother and co-founder when we're going out for dinner.
Do you have a memory of the hardest moment that we've been through together?
I don't have one particular memory of the hardest moment that we have been through. Obviously, when business it's not going in the direction that we want or that we expect according to the level of effort that we're putting, it creates friction in the relationship, not because we antagonize each other, or we, as I said, expect more or less from each other, but just because in general your mood is a bit more down, and I think it's okay to be down sometimes. Your levels of energy are also down, and that obviously gets impacted in the relationship with your co-founder. So there isn't one moment that I could recall, but there's been pockets of moments throughout this whole journey of entrepreneurship, and I think there will be more. And I don't think it's in my view, I don't think it will be a matter of either picking up one or understanding what happened in that particular occasion, or even trying to avoid having more in the future. It's a matter of accepting it, acknowledging it. It's part of business. It's part of how human beings are. It's part of relationships. It's interesting because for me, the hardest moment or hardest moments, they share the same commonality. They don't come from the outside world being, let's say, negative. So it doesn't come from a bad external situation. In fact, my toughest memories with you as partners, as co-founders, yeah, as brothers too, come from the most stupid, small, petty fights for the business. And those ones are the ones that are stayed the longest in my memory, and that I also remember that they have a very strong emotional charge. Which is interesting because they don't come from when the situation in the business is bad. But at the same time, at least this is something that I've applied for myself, and I don't think I've ever told you this, but one of my mechanisms to reset and move forward was not to think, well, crap, what should Arian do to not do this again, right? So what should he change? Instead of focusing on you, even though unconsciously I'm going to think that is your mistake, you're to blame, I'm focusing on myself. How can I improve? And just by thinking about myself, I feel much better about you. So that allows me to reset and go back to the table. Let's say if we're discussing something, we need to decide something that is important for the business, to find that balance, that equilibrium. Let's turn into the more beautiful side. Do you have a memory that perhaps might be the most beautiful memory that you have through the last years that we have been working together? Again, not one, but every single opening that we do is very beautiful. So when we open a restaurant, we always do a launch party. We invite friends, family, good clients, press, and so on. But I always find that one moment in that night, we already opened 4 restaurants, so there's been 4 nights like that. I always find that one moment in that night that amongst the crowd, I look at you and I see you just interacting with other people, and I just smile a lot, also internally, and I get very happy that we have done that and we were able to get to that point together and that level of enjoyment and happiness just because you and I have created it. So yeah, those opening nights. Those nights are beautiful. I 100% agree. For me, I also, when I was thinking about this, I found it very interesting. My answer. My most beautiful moments, they come not from a nice situation, but in fact from the opposite one. So when things go very hard in business, let's say COVID, for example, restaurants were closing, the world was closed, our businesses was closing. We didn't know if we were going to survive, let alone, keep growing. In those moments, when, the shit hits the fan, in those real moments is when we come together. And that's when I see not only my partner, I see my brother. And those for me are the most beautiful moments, because that's when I get close to you like there's no tomorrow. So my take on this is that the hard moments in business, they don't come because of the business, in my opinion. At least in our case, we're family, we're twins. And the good moments also, they don't come because we're making, let's say, lots of money. For me, they come when we are closer together, and that comes when the external world is not going well for us. I know you had moments where there was every fiber of your being telling you to quit. Let's do something else. And that, I think, is not only, it comes inherent with our business in particular, but generally in business. Again, do you have a technique? What goes through in your mind that, allows you to pull through and keep moving forward? I wouldn't say it's a particular technique. In general, I like to apply a positive mentality. We have a lot of employees. And I like to think that they all look up to us. And we still, regardless of the times that we navigate through, whether it's COVID, whether it's Cold War or economic crisis, they still look up to us. and they react based on how they see us, how they see our feelings and our behavior. And we still need them to deliver. So I try to stay as firm and strong with them as possible. So they can still look up to me and count on me as a person, as a reference, as a leader, that they can come with their questions, with their worries, with their doubts. Because I think that when you need it most, when at the darkest times, you need that one leader that is going to rise and show up for everybody. And that's the way that I see it for our business, because we are the owners, we are the leaders, we have gone through a lot. There is still a lot that we're going through, and we need to be that figure. I like to be that figure for you. And I also like to be that figure to all my team. And the ability to be able to provide a bit of comfort to everybody is what keeps me going.
Where do you find support?
Within me.
Within you.
Within me, always.
I find this fascinating. Obviously, in this case, I can see it from the outside, and I'm a testament to what you're saying. And yeah, it's incredibly inspiring. I hope that I mirror a similar emotion to you, but you to me are inspirational, and that's something that allows me also to pull through, right? Because we're on the same boat together. Different responsibilities, but on the same boat together effectively. So yeah, I find this very, very inspirational. Arian, there is no better teacher than real life experience. What would you advise to your 22-year-old self?
There's just so much you can't control. You cannot control everything. So do your best, and that's good enough. And one advice that goes together with what I just said, that I was given by someone that is very important to me, and it was very important throughout my journey. He said, may life teach you what life is about. So what I learned from that, and what I would like to explain to people about that, is you will do your best. But there is still a journey. There is a wider world. There is life that you don't know. And you just need to wait and continue within that journey for that. And you just need to let life to do that thing for you.
How do you pull back from self-doubt?
How do I pull back from self-doubt? It's important to let things settle. So when you're doubting yourself, sometimes it's a rush for a moment. So you need to let it settle and externalize it. Because sometimes when you say it out loud, if you can share it with someone, if it's a safe space to share it with someone that you trust, like your brother, your sibling, your family, then it is healthy to do so. Because then when you hear yourself saying it from outside, you probably realize that it's not that bad or that strong of a thing, and then you can look at it from another angle.
Thank you. And I thank you because I know you very well, and I also know that opening up, in this case, in public, is not easy, and is also something that perhaps is not supernatural to you. So I really appreciate you opening up. Let's change the tone. Let's talk about Forbes. Last year, you got nominated and you were included in the 2023 list, which is, for some, a great accomplishment. For some others, maybe something less meaningful. How important was this nomination to you?
It was very important, naturally. It was something that it wasn't a dream per se, but it was something that I always wanted to. It was a recognition from a really important magazine, and it's a magazine that is for entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs. And as I always wanted to be one, for me it was a very, very joyful moment to be recognized in last year's awards.
So yes, very happy, and also it made it extra happy to be able to be there together. It wasn't me and then you, so that thing combined was a very special moment, and I think it was also very important for us as a career and a step in our career because on one side it brought a lot of things afterwards. That recognition, it's a public recognition. A lot of people trust that award, not only us. And that puts a rubber stamp of what we have done and what we're capable of doing at an early age, and something that it's solid, so that, for example, has brought us new investors that they trust on what we do, they trust on our capabilities. Also within our team, they feel that they are in a very competent and reliable, let's say, management or co-founders like you and I. So our overall environment has benefited from this award. I think for you, in this case for us, was extra special because we were coming from a situation where we had to work very hard during COVID to turn things completely around, 180 degrees, literally. And we got out of it, and we have obviously our financial results that are telling us things are going well, but then you get this public recognition, which we both discussed it, offline. It's not something that we craved. It's not something that we dreamed of, but it was like a small, pat in the back saying, hey guys, well done. Because we've been through countless nights of no sleep, of staying super late, discussing, working, value engineering our company, because we have honestly been through something that for our industry has been detrimental. And this recognition came right after that in the form of, hey guys, in life, if you work, you get rewarded. And this was one example of our reward from everything that happened afterwards, which I think this is why it became extra special. Arian, your business generates several millions. You employ hundreds of people. Does this equate to success? So you're asking me what is success to me? Yeah. I don't think that's success. It doesn't equate to success. I mean, so there's a lot of things behind that scene, behind those numbers. As you said, sleepless hours. Is that really success? The opportunity cost that you have and also to get there. So I wouldn't say that is success. For me, success is a state of mind where you genuinely believe that you have completed what you have set out to do. And I don't think that's a numerical value in terms of money or number of employees, but then money is what you get from being right. So that is what is success to me. So then, are you successful? At the moment, my state of mind, I do believe, yes, that I have achieved what I wanted to do. I wanted to open different restaurants, all different, and being able to prove that they are all working well by themselves, almost on an autopilot mode, all delivering returns to me and my investors, and ready to take them international. So yes, I feel successful. Arian, thank you so much for coming this morning. This has been, to me, very special from so many different angles, and I hope that for you was also a little bit special. I think what your story, what you have gone through, everything that you've been working on are great examples for people to look up to and find inspiration from, because a lot of times being an entrepreneur is portrayed as having this groundbreaking idea, and if you don't have this groundbreaking idea, you're not a great entrepreneur, or you're not an entrepreneur, right? Don't even start. You have entered into one of the most competitive industries in the world, in history, one of the oldest ones. And you have not only become successful, very successful at a very young age, but you have been very successful in some of the hardest moments in the history of the United Kingdom, which I think this is very inspirational to a lot of people. And I thank you for coming this morning and sharing a little bit of what you have done. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alberto. Thank you.